go live. All right. Looks like we are live. Hello, everybody. Let's see here. Adjust some screens real quick. Come here. Scoot you over just a little bit. So I know you can see all of my two monitors and all the stuff on it. Ignore the top one. That's running my YouTube and my OBS. And I got FreeCAD up on the monitor. I also have another program up we'll jump to in a little bit. That's what I was waiting for to update, was my sound teacher software for the 53. Because I was going to mess around with it, but it's not playing audio on the PC at the moment. And I'm not sure why. But we can still kind of look at it. Got my RC Cola. So I'm super happy. I didn't get a video made yesterday because I kept adjusting my files in CAD and printing them and having to make an adjustment, printing them again. But with the exception of my two steering arms, the front suspension is finally finished. So there we have my loosely based Mustang 2 front end, which will fit the RC Everyday Shop Truck chassis as well as the Rat Rod chassis. So these two steering arms I still need to adjust, as I tried to keep them as thin as I could, but I do need to make them a little thicker. As lean in closer, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it, but both of them cracked when I pushed the bearing in. So I do need to make these two arms a little thicker. But they will. I got the steering arms here. I need to cut more all thread to make my links. So I did decide to use a bell crank. So you can mount the servo up alongside the transmission or out front behind the grill, and then just run a little rod to it. It'll do the steering. And then I got the center link, and then both of the outer links here will go on the bottom. You don't have a ton of suspension travel, but these are designed to run a 50 or 55 or a 52 millimeter touring car shock or drift car shock. As I did, I wanted to get the shock towers a lot smaller on the chassis, so you can have more options for engines and things. Looks like that just barely clears the motor, so might have to, well, actually I have it set so the motor's sitting as low as possible, so if I move that up a little bit, the everything will clear the motor, but that gives you a lot more space between the motor can for a 3D printed engine or one of the aluminum engines you can put in the cars. I was hoping to get a lot more clearance over here so you can run various headers or exhaust manifolds without too much trouble. So like I said, I have mine set as low as it can go, so if we move that up a little bit, we can get a little more clearance. It is kind of one of the nice things about this chassis is it's pretty much almost infinitely adjustable. So how is everyone's weekend going? Mine's been pretty quiet. Let's see here. Raise you up to that hole. Okay. Or it's not going to cooperate. I might actually have to take all of these out. That. We'll snug those up. If we put the motor up a little higher. So yeah, I don't have my motor placed at 100% where I want it yet. But you can see with it mounted up a little higher in that, because there's two holes in these mounts, that you have plenty of room to clear that bell crank. And you might have to bend your rod from the steering to go, if you put the servo back here in the chassis, to hide it like on one of the rat rod chassis. But that still could get you plenty of room for the motor. Again, with this actually sitting up a little higher, you'll definitely have plenty of room to clear any headers or any of those things you want. The suspension clears, the front transmission mount. So again, aside from cutting my steering links, the front suspension I think is pretty good. I'm really happy with it. The other thing I did last night is the bottom mount here, the ball didn't quite screw all the way into, so I trimmed off a few of the threads and shaved it down, so that brought these two arms closer together. You do have, like I said, pretty smooth suspension travel. And again, it's not designed to look like a factory suspension. It's designed to look like an aftermarket suspension on the trucks for the cars. If you look up the Mustang 2 kits, they're primarily for Mustangs, Camaros, Mercurys, Mopars, to put a more modern suspension on the car, modern coilover, to get better performance out of the chassis. And I just wanted to try designing a more realistic looking suspension for shop truck specifically. I know this part is a little weird, but I couldn't get my print to sit on these balls reliably. I don't know if the ABS just isn't quite elastic enough, or just being a print, it doesn't spring back to actually hold the ball securely. So that does take away from it a little bit, but once you get the wheel and tire on, you do have plenty of steering angle. And yeah, just kind of gives you a little more options for front suspension on the kit. Now that the front end's done, with the exception of just adjusting these, won't take too long. I will get these files uploaded to my Cults 3D page. And the rear suspension I'm pretty happy with. The only thing left to do is I need to cut my all thread for my panhard bar, and then get the shocks mounted to the chassis. But this is based off of what's a parallel 4-bar or just a parallel 4-link. I think I saw it first on Stacy David's Gears. He put it on a Mopar, and I think he just called it a 4-bar suspension. So his actually uses leaf springs still, but I wanted to put coilovers on this chassis because, again, I was going for a little more of a performance kind of build and a look. So this truck's going to look like it has a aftermarket suspension on it, and so that's the look I was going for. Again, the front and rear suspension will be one download link, and since I only have the RC 4-wheel drive K44 axle, that's the only thing these links are going to fit. I might ask around and see if I can get some dimensions off the Boom Racing axle, and then I can make these mounts for the Boom Racing axle. The 44 looks pretty good though, so wheels and tires on this thing. I got the white RC 4-wheel drive wagon wheels. These are Tamiya Racing Semi-Truck tires, which I think they're actually supposed to be on a 155 wheel. Excuse me. Then I also have the Kyosho Phaser wheels, because I really like the tread pattern on them. But they just look a little too small with the body. Cab here. Whoop, grill fell out. Yeah, just a little too tiny. These ones look a little better. I would like just a little bit taller tire though. My tape fell off. Still need to get the body glued together. And then I still need to cut out the bed more. But these actually fit. Tuck up in the fender wells pretty nice. That makes me happy. And then the phaser wheels fit in there just as good, but they just look way too small, unfortunately. But this is one of the parts that come with the shop truck kit. And as you can see, I got my shocks, towers a little lower, and I got the, I guess that's hard to see no matter what, but it's not quite as bulky. So there's a little more room on the chassis for scale parts. So I went and I'm running Red Cat parts on my front end. So I got all the balls and rod ends from the RDS kit. And it comes with a substantial number, came with 2 full trees of link parts. So that's why I went with that. And the steering hubs are RDS parts as well. The shocks are Racing 50 or 52 millimeter drift car springs. And they came with so many parts. It's really kind of unreal how much stuff these shocks come with. but you can actually set these shocks up so that they are fixed tuning or they're adjustable tuning. It's kind of unreal. You just put this shock in a position, and then you can adjust its valving without taking it apart, taking the oil out. That's just really kind of nuts. So yeah, that's really kind of blows me away. And then for lighting on the shop truck, I got the MyTrick RC Attack Afterburner 1402 Vintage Light Kit. And if you are not a fan or good at soldering wires, but you want lights on your car, this will be the second light kit I have from MyTrick RC, and I can't recommend them highly enough. So this comes with all of the LEDs you need, and a controller, zip ties. So this is pretty much plug and play. And there is no setup except just plugging the lights in the ports they need to be in. And then it comes with Y harnesses. So for brake lights and turn signals, you just Y into those channels on your radio. And that's it. You hit the brakes, the brake lights come on. When you go forwards, they turn off. When you turn the wheel, left or right, the turn signals come on, which is obnoxious. However, when I had their universal kit in the Semi, I had the turn signals into an auxiliary channel. So they were separate from actually steering the truck. So I could actually turn the turn signals on, make a turn, turn the turn signals off, and then go straight. They weren't blinking every little course correction I made or every time I turned. So that's the way I'm going to do it. Most likely on shop truck, or I might not even hook them up at all. I might just hook up the brake lights or the lights so the brake lights function. This one I picked because it has 4 LEDs for the headlights, and the 79 grill, of course, has 4 headlights on it. So again, if you want a light kit in your vehicle and you're not necessarily good at soldering or don't have the patience for it, MyTrick RC pretty much has a light kit for just about anything you want. Or you can piece one together because they have universal controllers and stuff. But this one comes with the controller, 3mm dual orange, 2 5mm dual halogen, and then 2 5mm dual red, and then 1 5mm dual amber. So there, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 LEDs. So plenty of LEDs to light up the shop truck. So speaking of lighting, over here, bring that up. Adjust its size a little bit. Might make it big enough so you can actually see it. This is for the Bayer light and sound kit that's in the 53 hauler. And I was hoping to demonstrate some sounds, but oops, it's not playing them. and I don't know why. So on here, pardon me. So the buyer sound and light kits, and then they also have a sound and light kit that has an ESC built into it, and they have one that has 2 ESCs built into it. These are incredibly powerful. I mean, they can do pretty much any kind of lighting you want to do on a vehicle. It's just unreal. So if we go over here to configuration, and then we come over here to outputs, the 53 hauler is using 15 of the 16 available outputs on the buyer sound kit and light kit. These are just the lights, the way I have everything programmed in the car or the truck. So the cab is on 1 ribbon cable, and then the back half of the truck is on the 2nd ribbon cable. So parking lights, side marker left, side marker right, combined rear left, combined rear right. So that actually is kind of why I like this kit over my trick stuff or other lighting kits, is you can have the same LED do multiple functions. So when I say combined rear left, that means it is both brake light and the turn signal. So when the brake lights are on, they'll actually, instead of getting brighter for turn signal, they'll dim or go off like a real turn signal. We have reverse lights. We have ship towing light, which is actually forget what I actually put that as, but it doesn't really have necessarily work lights. And then the rear fog lights are for the lights on the work bar on the back of the cab. So yeah, all of these lights, and then you can set up channels. And the way this is designed is it's designed for a 4-channel stick radio. So you can change. So on one stick, you can have basically for 12 functions on a channel, because you can have it in, you can hold it in a static position, you can put it in one of these positions for a short period of time, and then you can hold it for a longer period of time in one of these functions and trigger everything. It's also S-Bus capable. Random sounds. If you've seen videos with the 53, you'll occasionally hear a chuff from an air dryer. That's a random sound. It only plays when the engine is on, and it will play whether the truck is in motion or stationary. Again, I'd really like to play the engine sounds for you from the PC, but it's not cooperating. You can change how many gears. You can have 1 gear or 5 gears. And then you can change percentages, when they turn on. I'm trying to figure out how I program this and my radio. Because if I can get it programmed right, when I just barely touch the brakes in the 53, it'll trigger the slowdown sound. And I have a Jake brake file for my slowdown sound. So if I get it programmed right, when I go to slow the 53 or stop the 53, it's going to kick on engine brakes from the engine. Instead of being just the regular engine sound slowing down, it'll actually play a Jake brake sound file from a 671, which is what I have programmed in the 53, is a Detroit Diesel 671. And then this is the backup beeper. You can adjust all of the volumes independently. It's really, really incredible what this thing will do. I was hoping I could play the sounds for you, but it updated, so now I'm not sure what it's doing now. Yeah, I need to fiddle with the radio's brake settings, brake curve, and the brake curve in that software. So when I just barely give it any brake, it'll play Jake brakes. And the truck will obnoxiously Jake brake until it comes to a stop. That's what I want to do in theory anyways. But the buyer stuff is definitely not a beginner level system, I would say. It's definitely on the advanced end of RC electronics. You really have to be good at soldering wires. You have to be pretty patient to set up your sounds, your lighting. To get the 53 in the semi truck where they're at sound-wise, probably 8 hours on both now. Just plugging the truck into the PC, adjusting the file, uploading it, trying it, adjusting, uploading, back and forth, for, again, hours. But again, buyer stuff, if you want a gazillion functions, it'll do it. The other thing I didn't show you on that software is you can adjust. It'll also run 4 servos, or 4 servo functions, I should say. So in my videos of the 53, when you see it really slowly lower or raise, that is set in the buyer software, not in the radio. So I have it set to just move the servo between 2 different settings, and how long it takes to get from one setting to the other, and when that servo function is triggered, it also plays the airbag sound. I couldn't find a good a different sound file between airing up and airing down, so it just plays the same file, which is okay. Most people aren't really going to notice the difference. But yeah, so it goes from its lowered position to its raised position, and I tried to adjust the servo speed so the servos took the entire sound file to actually move the truck up or down. So now we'll hop over here to CAD, because my brain works funny. So this is pretty much what you are going to, I got to do it on the right screen. So all of this is what you're going to get when you download the shop truck file. I have 2 cross members, a taller one and a shorter one. This one has the little ears for the steering on it. The other one is designed if you want to run Tamiya or other suspension arms. It still keeps the shock in the middle. So you get both steering arms, this cross member, 2 different upper control arms, and then 1 lower control arm. which the holes in the center and the holes in the center, and then this one is if you need a little more caster angle that will tilt your arm back a little bit. Oops. And then, yeah, this one's a little taller. You'll need to print the 4-bar link twice. That's panhard. And then the axle one, as you can see, one's pretty short, one's a little taller. And then there's 2 holes in this, as well as the one without the panhard mount on it at all. This has taken me well, because I'm not super fast in CAD. I'm probably 10 or 15 hours just in designing these parts alone. And I'm really happy with the way they turned out. Like I said, I just need to make these parts a little thicker, and then let's turn it so you can actually see them a little bit better. Might need to open this hole up a little bit bigger as I design these to sit on a very small bearing. And all of my holes are to fit 3mm screws. So 3mm holes here, and then that's a little bigger than 3mm, but the bearing inner diameter is 3mm, outer diameter is 6mm, and then it's 2.5mm thick. So I actually have this arm designed so the bearing doesn't sit flush in it. It kind of sits out the bottom a little bit. So the bearing will sit on this little nub here. And like again, I was really trying to design a steering that would give good performance as well as more scale looks. The other thing I think you could do is only print this one and then mount the servo on this side of the chassis and just use the servo horn to connect to here, and then have it go out to your steering. So yeah, I didn't duplicate the arms on both sides of the chassis because you just print a pair of each and they just sit over on the other side and line up. But I am really happy with the design overall. I'm kind of hoping Josh over at RC Every Day, I sent him the files. I'm going to redo this and then send him this front end, the arms, and then the links he needs for the rear end so he can give it a try on one of his projects. The only reason the steering isn't done 100% is I've kind of run out of rod ends. So that's partly why it's not finished. But I'm really happy with the way that turns out. I'm sure better designers could have done this a lot faster than I did and probably make the parts a lot nicer looking than I did. But here's the biggest thing I want people to take away from my channel. You don't have to be an amazing designer or the best welder or builder or soldierer. it took me quite a while to design that. And that's okay. It's fun. The point of the hobby is to have fun. If you're really great at it, that's awesome. If you're like me and not really great at it, I'm still having a good time. I mean, again, sure, some other people could have designed these parts to look a little better, but I didn't have to pay for them. I did it. I'm using FreeCAD, so you can look up FreeCAD, download the, I don't know if I have the newest version or not, but it's open source, so you don't have to pay for it. So if you want to learn CAD, there are tutorials on YouTube how to use FreeCAD, and in your spare time you can just learn how to use it. I mean, I watched a few tutorials, and yeah, now I've designed a suspension. Pardon me. The CXT hasn't been on the channel in a while, but I designed the fuel tank on it. You've seen the Grand Hauler, the tank I hid the servo in a hydraulic tank that actually actuates the drop axle on the semi. So yeah, I got in CAD, designed up a box to kind of look like a hydraulic tank. It also has slots in it where I glued in 2 servo extensions, so I don't have to take the truck apart to plug in trailer functions. I can just hook the trailer up and then plug it in 1 of 2 ports on that hydraulic tank, and I have trailer functions already wired and had set up in the radio for like the belly dumps that Ed has at Dig Days. I can just plug it into one channel, and then I can operate the belly dump mechanism without having to take the truck apart to run a servo lead all the way into the receiver. That took me, it probably took me hour and a half to design that tank. And I had to print it twice because I didn't get one of my measurements right. So maybe that took a little while to print because I didn't have the bamboo printer yet. So I bet total between designing, printing, designing, and printing again, maybe 5 hours total. And most of that was waiting for the printer to print. So that's kind of what I really want to do on my channel, is I want to show you don't have to be really good at it to do any of this stuff. Again, the Buyer electronics, you definitely have to take your time. There's plenty of tutorial videos on how to do that on YouTube. 3D printing, again, plenty of tutorials on how to do that. Same with the CAD. I mean, at this point in time, if you can read and have a basic mechanical ability, you know, something a little more between being able to tell the difference between an Allen and a Torx bit, and you can watch, and you have access to YouTube, you can pretty much do anything if you have the time and the patience to try it. I mean, there's tutorials on how to rebuild engines, transmissions, wiring, do-it-yourself projects, carpentry. You can probably find tutorial videos on how to do concrete work. You just have to, you know, be willing to roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty, and try it. Will the first one be a success? Maybe not. Third or fourth one? Probably getting better. But again, the RC hobby, for me, it's fun to build stuff, it's fun to design stuff, and I just kind of want to share my fun with you. and encourage you to try it yourself. The shop truck and the rat rods chassis from RC Everyday, you do have to have, I wouldn't say they're beginner or novice, but if you've put a kit or two together before, you can do this. You know, if you've put hundreds of kits together, you can absolutely do this. You know, if you've changed parts out on an RTR and you kind of have the basics of how all of the components work, you can build one. Even if you don't have a 3D printer, you can, by this point, find someone who has one, or order a body from someplace. The shop truck and is actually designed to run the RC four-wheel drive Chevy bodies, any of those hard bodies. So again, the hardest part's just getting the body mounted to the chassis and then choosing what parts you want to put on it. I have seen on the group someone do a four-wheel drive shop truck with leaf springs front and rear. A lot of people have done slammed shop trucks. I'm kind of going for more of a hot rod pickup than a shop truck. I mean, it can still be a shop truck, but mine's a little more performance oriented. And I'm really kind of leaning towards, I might get the super wide or the super single semi-truck tires that are probably almost half again as wide as this tire, and so it'll look like, so the truck will look like it has drag radials on the back. Kind of leaning that way, but yeah, you just order some parts and start building stuff. That's really kind of what I want to encourage on my channel, is just give it a shot. You know, the shop truck, I'm actually going to run off of the RTR radio that came with the 53. So this is going to run a Red Cat radio and a 4-channel receiver. It's a 4-channel transmitter too. I didn't see the point of buying a receiver to run one of the other radios I use when I have a transmitter and a receiver already that'll work just fine in this. This truck doesn't need super low response time or the noble 8-channel. I don't need an 8-channel radio in this thing, certainly. I don't need all of its adjustment and parameters you can change. I just needed to go forward, backwards, steer left, right. And then I can use the auxiliary channel to do the turn signals. Which is kind of why I recommend you keep an RTR radio, because, again, not everything you build is going to need a high-end radio. You might only need a 2-channel radio for something. I have a 4-channel on my Scale Builders Kit HPI, and a 4-channel in the CXT that I only use 2 channels in. The Wheelie King, I needed a 3-channel radio at least to run rear steering. So that body I'm still super happy with. On top. So this is the first body I've tried to do multiple colors on. And I wanted to paint the truck up so it looks like somebody built this truck out of a couple of trucks. So the bed's off of a fire truck, basically. That's why it's red. The cab's army truck. I tried to make this look like canvas. And then this fender's off of a Forest Service truck. So 3 different trucks to make one truck body. This is running an HPI Wheelie King transmission and axles. In fact, these are actually Wheelie King tires as well. I welded up the chassis myself. I'm not a great welder. I'm not even going to call myself a welder. I am someone who can weld. And that's a big difference. I know people who are excellent welders. So, chassis all welded up. J-Concept motor, and then this is actually the stock speed controller out of the 53 hauler. And then this is the 4-channel receiver that came with the Noble 4 Plus from FlySky, and I ordered the 8-channel to put in the 53. So super easy. Well, I won't say it's super easy. It's a little frustrating, but again, this is just kind of a fun truck. It doesn't have to be precise. It's just for throwing a battery in, mobbing around. It'll pull wheelies. Do need to beef up my steering a little bit. I tried doing some rock crawling with it, if you saw that video, and it did okay. It's more of a monster truck. It's just kind of a solid axle basher at this point. The frame's probably way too heavy, and again, not 100% performance oriented, just fun oriented. In fact, I already scratched the paint up on the front where the chassis is. I'm disappointed they seem. I think J-Concepts discontinued the Lloyd body, which is kind of a shame because it's ugly and I love it. It is supposed to be a Kaiser Willys M117, which is actually what it says here. And that was a real truck. They were rag tops. 70s, I want to say. But yeah, it's just such a cool looking truck. I really would like one full size. The other thing we're going to get started on is the CXT is going to get a rebuild this year. We can move some stuff and get that truck over here, because if you're new to the channel, you probably haven't seen it. It hasn't been on the channel for quite some time, so I'm sure a lot of people have not seen it. So give me a second, and I'll get it dug out here. Just have too much stuff in the office sometimes. Get all the junk out of the CXT. In here. Big scale stuff is a chore to get this thing moved around. It's kind of like the 53, just gigantic. So yes, if you have not seen this on the channel, it's super dusty, but this is the The body is from New Bright, and they haven't made it for 15 years probably, but it is an International CXT. And when it came out, it was the world's biggest pickup truck you could buy. I drove it around, well, because I picked it up at Walmart. Drove it, I don't know, 2 or 3 times. It sucked, but the body looks really cool. It was red. I had a friend airbrush this body. He did the flames. And a really hokey toy stack. I threw that away. So the fuel tank is 3D printed, and then the steps actually came with the truck. The biggest problem with it being a Walmart truck was it was 2-wheel drive, and CXTs are 4-wheel drive. I welded up the front bumper. And it's also on HPI Wheelie King axles. Leaf spring in front, 4-link coilover in the rear. And right now, it actually has 2 transmissions in it. It has the Wheelie King transmission acting as a drop box transfer case, but it has a dual motor Emax transmission with 2 45-turn brush motors on it that feed into the Wheelie King transmission, and then it goes out to the axles. But I haven't driven this thing in a long time. The body and plastics are really old, so it's fairly fragile. But it's sitting on an aluminum chassis right now that's bolted together. And it was a good first try, but I'm not super happy with it. So I'm ordering parts, and I've got most parts in to rebuild this truck. The Traxxas transmission's going in the garbage because I can't stand Traxxas. I got some other parts I'm going to use for that. The Wheelie King transmission is okay. So what I've actually done is ordered some Red Cat parts. So this will be sitting on, I'm not going to 4-link it, I'm going to do radius arms front and rear. So it's going to be sitting on the 53 Red Cat hauler shocks. I got the aluminum hop-ups, or the aluminum housing for the transfer case out of the Marksman, as well as metal gears. I'm also switching over to Red Cat Marksman axles. They're going to be just a little on the wide side, which is okay. That's perfectly fine. But I got the front axle and the rear axle. So new axles, new transfer case, and then the transmission that's actually going in this truck is, it's going to have the Tamiya semi-trucks 3-speed. So that's part of my reason for rebuilding this. It has tons of power, but it's slower than molasses. Like full tilt, it's barely walking pace. I actually have to walk a little slower just to keep up with it, or keep pace with it. But it's not going to run a stock Tamiya gears in it. I have helical cut brass gears coming forward, aluminum shift plates, HD output shaft, and then I'm going to put the 2 motors on that transmission. So it'll be dual motor 3-speed in this truck. Which hopefully will give me a better top end for, if I'm out somewhere and need to get out of the street or out of the way a little quicker, it'll have the speed to kind of get off and move a little faster. The truck also doesn't have a lighting kit in it yet, so it will get lights eventually when it gets rebuilt. Going to need a bazillion LEDs, because of course you got the 5 in the visor, 2 headlights, 2 front turn signals, the light here on the fender. I think I'm going to put lights in the mirror. Then you have 2 marker lights on the bed, and then the lights in the back. So this is going to have a ton of LEDs in it. So right now it's sitting on almost 6-inch tall J-Concept Scorpios tires. And I really like the looks of the tires and the performance of the tires on this chassis. On the lava rock around me, these have really good grip, and the truck's too top heavy, so it flops over if you go up, if you get it too steep of an angle side hilling. But with its wheelbase, I mean, it'll climb some pretty steep hills, no problem, just because of its again, wheelbase and traction. So these are 3.0 RPM wheel, 17mm hex. I think these wheels are gonna, with those wider axles, are gonna put the tires way too far out. So I'm going to probably design a wheel that that'll keep the tire mounted in more. But I don't know if I'm going to keep them 3.0 or the tires are actually 2.0 tires. I don't know if I'm going to keep these tires or I might switch to the axial or the axial SCX6 tire, or like a Proline SCX aftermarket tire. I do need to the other thing I tried on this, and it worked for a little bit, was I actually made these wheels so they could hold air. Cut down a real valve stem, and let me pull a wheel off. I'll show you. So I actually got these tires to hold air, and it worked good for a little while. But not sure. Yeah, you can see the valve stem cap in there. So these did hold air. They still had the tire foams in them. But, because of course they're meant for the 2.0 wheel and something not this heavy, the foams are a little too soft. And I think they held air for 2 outings, and then I ran through some weeds and got either goat heads or thorns in them, and they don't hold air anymore. This truck, I really want to rebuild it and do a better job. So it's on a aluminum chassis right now, and I'm going to build the next one out of steel. That way I can weld it together and get it a little stiffer, because I really want this truck, if the frame's stiff enough, it won't flex when the truck's going over terrain, so I don't risk twisting the body and tearing it up. So stiffer frame, metal gears. The Traxxas transmissions held up fine. I'm just not a fan of them as a whole, and I'd like the at least the 3-speed transmission, just so the truck has a faster top end. The other reason for going to in the Red Cat gears for the transfer case are a lot more substantial than the gears in the Wheelie King case. So, and I know a lot of people kind of look down on Red Cat, but that 53, the build quality of those parts is so good. They're not the company they used to be. So Marksman axles, they're a little wide, but I don't want this truck on portals, because portals on this thing would look retarded. Not only would it look retarded, but you couldn't get, they wouldn't look accurate either. This truck never came with portals, and it's already pretty tall as it is. So portal axle on a medium duty truck, I mean, this thing would be taller than an Unimog, because that's the size this truck is. Actually, it's probably, yeah, weight class would be Unimog. Of course, the Unimog's more cab forward than this, but it's not, it's a medium duty truck. It's not a light duty truck like a pickup truck. So, which also makes building the chassis for this easy, because I don't have, the chassis doesn't, medium duty chassis don't have steps in them. They're straight. So makes building the chassis a lot easier, because I just need 2 pieces of channel and then some cross members. The bed, to get it to sit right, I do have to raise the bed up a little bit, and I don't think the camera would reach. This thing is so dusty. So dusty and dirty, but get it here. Yeah. So this is actually a ball stud for the gas struts out of like the hatchback of a car or SUV. You have those little gas struts that hold the tailgate open for you. That stud's what bolts into the body to hold the gas strut to hold the door hatch open on your car. So it's rated for like 200 pounds or better. And I made a bunch of tow hooks, tow straps out of just some high-vis cord. I also put some hooks on them for holding stuff down to the gooseneck trailer. Soon as I get the rest of the transmission parts in, this will be coming up on a video. That needs to stay out. But yeah. So next weekend we'll start actually getting the shop truck body on the chassis. I gotta finish printing out the interior pieces, get a servo mount made, and then I have a lot of printing to do with the body. I need to print the radiator out, seats, dash, steering wheel, And then I'll probably just make some generic body mounts to put the, here, we can do this. That's a 10th scale Dodge body. The International is a medium duty truck. So they're actually scaled pretty close together, even though New Bright called this a 6th scale. It's really kind of odd. If it were 6th scale, it'd be substantially bigger. I mean, the bed's almost fit. Well, the one bed almost fits in the other bed. Yeah, since I didn't have a video made, as I spent most of my time printing and designing, I figured I'd do a little live, kind of catch you up on stuff, kind of explain where we're going. So the CXT is getting a chassis rebuild. I really should try to do my bodywork a little better, but I'm afraid of damaging the body to fix it from when it broke initially. So probably just clean this off, and then I'll need to make a hole somewhere to run like LEDs out here to the visor. That's what really threw me, is the taillights and the headlights are actually designed for LEDs already. Kind of like they thought about putting lights in it, and then they just didn't for some reason. But New Bright builds stuff for Walmart, so the truck when it was new was, I think it was 150, but the Walmart near me ordered way too many, so after Christmas I got it for $50. I wouldn't have spent $150 on it. And although the bodies these days, if you can find one of these bodies in good shape, they're like $200 bodies now. Maybe even more, because they're brittle, and most of them are probably tore up. So yeah, they're worth a pretty penny if you can find one in good shape. So yeah, this will be getting a rebuild. I do have the lights for the snowplow. So now that I got the snowplow completely tore apart, I'll take all the chrome and the visor and the lights off the cab. I'll have to drill new holes for those lights, fill in the holes from the old lights, and I really need to smooth out the filler panel I put in the cab. So I'll probably do most of that work off camera, and then once I got everything on the snowplow put back together, make a video on that. As I do need to get a little better servo for the snowplow angle, and do some final tweaks on the dump bed mechanism. Then I can put the snowplow back together. I think I'm going to do the cab. I'm going to paint the cab and the hood after I get it smoothed out, and just to make it all one uniform color, since I couldn't find a blue that matched the blue it was molded out of. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming up on the channel. We still got a trailer. Yeah, you can kind of see it. It's over there by the weight machine. Still got a trailer to build. And then if my full-size truck would quit needing parts, I'm going to start pretty quickly ordering parts for my Red Cat SEMA build, as I'd like to get that started a lot sooner than I started last year's, so I have plenty of time to finish it, really nail all the details. So when that competition starts, I'd like to have the videos finished, that I can just upload them and post photos. So lots of projects this year. Well, shop truck and SEMA build and the trailer are 3 new projects. the CXT and the snowplow are rebuilds. So still a lot of content to come. Be sure to subscribe and hit the like button. That's free, really helps the channel out. There is a link in the description for an affiliate link to Redcat. So if you want some Redcat stuff, you can use that, and that'll help the channel out a little financially. I'm not going to ask you to have a channel membership. Just click like, subscribe, leave me a comment. That's all you really have to do. If you want Redcat stuff and want to use my link, that's awesome. You don't have to. You could also support your local hobby shop, which would be fantastic. And that's kind of where I get most of my electronics from. As I try to order some stuff from him and some stuff offline, because I know he just can't get everything I want. Like the helical cut gears for the Tamiya, I know he can't get it, so ordered that stuff offline. Servos, motors, wheels, tires, that kind of stuff, paint. I tried to order from my local hobby store. So that is going to do it for this live stream. We've been live for a little over an hour. Just kind of wanted to catch up with everybody. Since again, I didn't get a video made last night. And yeah, hope everybody's weekend, the rest of it goes smoothly, and we'll catch you in the next one. And